Welcome into the Mountaineer Sports Insider Podcast. This is Luke Blaine, the sports managing editor of the DA, with Brian McQuillan today, sports features editor over there. We have a little bit of a different plan today with MSI. Schedules aren't exactly aligning, so we are going to put out an interview that we did with head rifle coach Jon Hammond last week, and it was a really good conversation, a great time getting over. We even got to see their trophy case where they hold their, how many national championships?
It was
16
plus.
16, 17, yeah. I forget the exact number slips in my mind right now. But no, it was a great interview. It was a great conversation. Brian, what'd you get out of that?
Yeah, it was interesting because not only did we get insight about the upcoming season, and we talked about the different Olympians he's coached over the course of his career, but we got good insight about him. Coach Hammond and like his, coming to Morgantown when he was a student here, played for the team here for a season. So we got good insight about his experiences here, not only as a coach but as a player, and how his experiences, playing at one of the best rifle schools in the country translates to him being a very successful coach.
Yeah, it's always nice to pick the brain of a guy who's won 6 national titles. So with that, we will send it over back to us, which is where we recorded it from the rifle facility. So you will hear us speak to Coach Jon Hammond. And with that, enjoy the interview. Welcome back to the Mountaineer Sports Insider Podcast. This is Luke Blaine, sports managing editor of the Daily Athenaeum, here with Brian McQuillan. We are not in the studio today. We are remote from the WVU rifle range here, talking to none other than Hayhurst family head coach Jon Hammond of the WVU rifle team. Coach, how are you doing today?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having us. This is an amazing facility. We're happy to be here, and got to take a little bit of a look around before we set up. And so just to start off, season's about to gear up. We asked you a little bit about the off season. How have things been since rifle team last took to the field of competition?
Well, obviously we had the off season and the summer off, which is always nice. Kind of need that to just recharge a little bit and have a break. We're a winter sport, so we go throughout the fall and the spring, so that the break is really necessary. It's always exciting for a new year. It's a new team, fresh faces. It's kind of that clean start. So we've been back in practice for a little while. They come back in the fall, and we kind of take a week or so to kind of settle in and then get straight into practice. And then our first competitions or matches are starting in a couple weeks. So we're looking forward to getting the season started.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. I think us over at the Daily Athenaeum and the rest of Mountaineer Nation are really excited to see what happens with the rifle team this year. So for those who might not follow rifle as closely, and for those who, might know of the success but don't really look into it too much, can you just introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So obviously my name's Jon Hammond. I'm the head rifle coach here for the WVU rifle team. This is actually going to be my 19th season coaching the team. Wow. So it's been a little while. I went to school here for my master's, shot on the rifle team. So, this is really my home away from home. I'm from Scotland originally, but Morgantown's become my home. And yeah, it's an honor for me to do this job. The rifle team here at WVU has just a tremendous amount of history and tradition. Even before I took over, many national championships and Olympians and All-Americans, all the way back into the 80s. And really even before that, rifle became an NCAA sport in the early 80s. But even before that, we had All-Americans and national champions and stuff. So it's a great honor for me, and it's a really cool, unique sport. I think being in West Virginia, it holds a little bit more of a tie to the culture of West Virginia and the state. There's a lot of outdoors hunting and fishing activities, and of course our Mountaineer mascot, carries a musket and a muzzleloader musket. So there's a great tradition, and hopefully we'll just keep continuing the success of the team this year and into the future.
Can you talk a little bit about the transition, coming from Scotland to Morgantown, and what that adjustment was like to you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a little while ago now, but Yeah, I mean, as an international student, you're not just a few hours away from home; you're a long way from home. I'd done my bachelor's degree first, so I was used to living away from home. I was 21. I was kind of ready for the adventure. It wasn't necessarily a challenge for me, but it was exciting. It was a lot of fun. I lived with a couple guys, one that was on the rifle team. They were from West Virginia. I really tried to immerse myself in their culture, and obviously being from Scotland, there's no language barrier. There was definitely differences, and maybe vocab and things like that. But I just remember it being a really fun experience. I really enjoyed being in college, enjoyed being part of a new culture, and I was also here, to compete. I kind of had, like I said, I had my bachelor's degree, so honestly, studying probably wasn't rifle was really the main priority for me, and I was able to get a master's while I was here too, which was great. But it was just a really fun experience, and I think I can relate to the international students that come over for our team and the transition, but in some ways, when they're coming over and speaking in a different language, and I think, we grew up a lot with, American TV, a lot of American culture. For the Europeans and the other nationalities that come over, I've got a huge amount of respect and admiration for them to come and sit in a classroom in a totally different language, doing some pretty hard classes and hard courses. It's really impressive that they're able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you got to also compete while you were coaching at the same time, Great Britain national team.
Correct.
Right? Yes. So what was that experience like?
That was really cool as well. I think I when I finished schooling here, I actually worked for a golf tournament for a couple of years. And of course, so I had 2 or 3 years where I really stopped competing. And so when this opportunity kind of came up to coach the team, I think selfishly, one of the main draws was that I could start training and competing again. I saw it as hey, I can have a job where it's a really fun job that I'm coaching, but I'm also going to have the time in the day and the resources to do my own training. And so that kind of started almost like my second career, as it were, starting in 2006. And yeah, it was a really cool experience. I feel like as I got back into the sport and training full time, that allowed me to relate to the team members. I understood what they were going through. And then as I was able to compete nationally and that stretch, allowed me to compete on the World Cup circuit, a couple of Olympics. The more I learned as a competitor really helped me as a coach. But I also think as I was coaching, that helped me as a competitor. You're preaching the right things day in, day out, and finally that stuff, sinks into your own head a little bit as well. And I was a bit older. And then obviously it was a great recruiting tool for me as well. I was traveling a lot in the summers at international matches, allowed me to meet, make a lot of contacts of not just athletes that might want to come over, but also coaches and staff as well that might introduce me to people later on as well. So the coaching really helped me, I think, as an athlete, grow as an athlete. And then as I was still competing at that top level, that obviously helped me learn things as a coach as well. So they kind of went hand in hand. And as I got older, kind of got to the point where, I started, having a family and it got a little bit busier. And kind of by the end, I found I was really, I was competing, but I was really more worried about how my team members were doing, if they were at similar competitions or recruiting and just things like that. And but yeah, I had a great career, really enjoyed the traveling and competing, and it's a little easier now just doing the coaching.
Mm-hmm. Right. So whenever you came in 2006 to coach, kind of had to build the program back up. I mean, that first year you were here, conference finish in 5th place. Ever since then, you haven't finished worse than second. What has that been like? What has that process been like of kind of restoring that? I mean, 13 national championships, you've got it up to 19 since coming into coach. So what's that been like?
Yeah, it's been, obviously a great experience kind of reflecting on all of it. Yeah, I think when I came in, it was a different situation. So, the rifle team had been cut after my first year in school, so 2003. Obviously that's a whole different story. The team was kind of reinstored a year later. So when I started coaching, the team had only been back in place for a couple years, and it was really starting from ground zero. most kids from when I'd been on the team either graduated, transferred out, and then the recruiting process for Marcia, who was the previous coach, incredibly difficult. People are not coming to a team that's just been cut and then reinstated. So when I took over, it was, it was a rebuilding process for sure. There was obviously a handful of, team members that were still there, but the recruiting I knew was going to be the biggest thing to just build that up, convince, top recruits that this was still a place to come and that there was a future and that we had a vision. And then just being, very active on a daily basis, coaching. And so I had a pretty good vision of what I wanted, like how I wanted to kind of operate practices, the kind of the more so like the culture that I wanted for the team, to really use our resources here, create a place where, you had everything here just like the Olympic Training Center does. And obviously over the years, the resources have grown and expanded, exponentially as college sports has just got bigger. But really creating that atmosphere. And yeah, the first couple years were a challenge. I think I did get a little bit lucky my second year. So my very first recruiting class, there was a handful of the top recruits in the country that were local. So one was from West Virginia, one was really close in Pennsylvania. In fact, two were Pennsylvania, one was a little bit further. So it was an easier sell to those kids to say, yes, we're going to bring the rifle team back. And so that first recruiting class was great. That snowballed into a couple good recruits coming in for my third year. And then once we started to, have some success, then it kind of just, builds from there. And so we were able to bring the level up fairly quickly. And then just were able to get on a great run from then on in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how did your experience as a player kind of help shape that vision for what you wanted coming in as a head coach?
Yeah, I think it helped a lot. I mean, I'd competed for quite a while at that point. I'd come through the junior circuit in Great Britain. I'd competed internationally by then. I'd been a student athlete on the team here. And obviously, I'd been on the team before the team was cut. And we were, a pretty successful team the year that I was here. So I kind of, had experienced being a team member. I'd competed internationally. So that was a huge help I knew what I wanted as I felt like I had a good idea of what the athletes needed and how to push them and how to challenge them. But you were also learning. I mean, my first year as a coach, like I hadn't coached before. I obviously know a lot more now after 18 years. I feel like you learn something new every year as well. So it was a learning process, but I was pretty young, so I was pretty close to the athletes. I was, I think, able to probably relate better to them at that point, and just create this vision and like, this is what we want to do. It was kind of exciting we had stickers that said restore the glory, and so we were kind of on that path of like, we've got so much history and tradition here of the team, there's been so much success, let's use it as a motivation to bring that back. And we knew we had a lot of support in the community and our alumni base and things like that. So it was a really fun time with the team for sure.
With Mary Tucker, qualifying for the 2024 Paris Olympics, can you just talk about what it's been like in the experience of coaching, multiple Olympians, and just, the experience of like just coaching them in that, and helping them reach that standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's obviously amazing when you have athletes of that caliber. We've had a handful come through the program while I've been coaching, and the likes of Mary and Ginny and Nico further back, and we had a few others go to the Olympics as well. Like it gives you a lot of satisfaction to be a part of their journey. Mary was only here for 2 years, and she was already an Olympian when she came here. So that was maybe a little different situation, but it was very enjoyable to coach her, get to know how an athlete of that level, how she works, how she trains. And I think we became a really good, valuable resource for her. I think this was just a really a good environment for her, just a better fit than her previous school. And she had 2 great years with us. And then back to Ginny was more that really she came in as a freshman, and she really developed at West Virginia, and went to the Olympics while she was in school and came back as well. But For the athletes that make it to that level, I think the thing that stands out is they have exceptional drive and determination. Like, they are internally motivated. They don't need push to do a whole lot. And so obviously it's super fun to work with them. They want to learn. They're easy to coach because they want to learn everything. Sometimes they're challenging, but for the most part, like, they're like a sponge. They want to learn everything they can from you. And they're competitive and they're driven, and so there's aspects where you're kind of just managing them, but it's really fun to see them progress and get to that level, and it's been we've been fortunate to have athletes like that come through the program and then go on and have great success at the Olympics too.
Yeah, kind of building off your point of progression for these players. Like, what is your approach to coaching a sport that is so individualized and different and unique compared to other sports?
Yeah, sure. I think JP, my assistant coach, and myself talk about it with recruits. I think we have quite a small team. It's 8 to 10 typically. I'm going to guess it's fairly similar to golf, that we're really coaching 8 to 10 individuals within a team environment. What one person needs is quite different from what someone else needs. How they, we're going to train in similar ways, and we're going to do a certain percentage of our training as a team where we're doing the same drills, same activities, but a bigger percentage they're doing what they need to do to work on, whether it's a certain position, training a certain technique, sometimes working more on the mental side, the physical side. There's so many aspects that you can break it down, and we'll really work with them individually to build a training plan. Maybe every week kind of go, okay, what's the plan for this week? Some of them are more experienced. Some of the older team members come in and they go, hey, this is what I'm going to do this week. Boom, boom, boom. Come help me with this. And they run with it. Others may come in and be like, I'm not sure, like, help me build a training plan. Or we may already know, like, hey, we want you to do some more of this. We want you to do some more of that. It's probably the same in golf. Someone's going to be hitting the driving range more. Someone's hitting the putting green more. Someone's working on a swing change maybe more than someone else. So we have to manage that of like, hey, let's do some things together where we're competing against each other to get kind of practice reps and competition and things like that. But then we're going and doing our own thing. So it's very fluid. We have to stay on top of that of changing it week to week, of what someone needs to work on. But that's really kind of how we explain it to recruits, that we're your individual coaches, but we're going to do it under the team umbrella where we're still doing it together. We train at the same time. We're supporting each other. We are a team at the end of the day. We win or lose as a team. But what you might do in practice might be something different from what someone else is doing.
Right. So how do you coach the mental side of things? And when we talked to Molly last year, she made it sound like a very mental sport, I would imagine. But, how does coaching the mental side of the sport go in with practicing the physical?
Yeah, sure. Well, we have a great sports psychologist to start with. But I think we work on it a good bit of just the culture of what we want within the team. We talk a lot about the process over the outcome. I think the biggest challenge in our sport is getting too sucked into the outcome. And our sport is very objective. Like, your score is your score. And they have a little computer monitor right next to them that as soon as they fire a shot, the result of that shot is right in front of their face. So it's instant feedback of what was your score. And so it's very hard for an athlete to detach themselves from that and actually make sure that they're doing the right process, that they're both training that process, and that they're fully invested in that process and not just invested in the score. So we know the score is important, but if that's all you're thinking about and that's what you're focused on, then you're not going to be focused on actually doing the right technique and the right process that you need to do in order to get that result. So I think we talk about that a lot. We preach that a lot. We do training drills where we might take the monitor away, or we might do some training we have a kind of computer trainer where we can see what they're seeing in terms of their hold and things like that. And then it's just, really just talking about it a lot, trying to create more of a growth mindset within the team as our general culture, and then within each of them individually And that really involves getting to know them, having deeper conversations with them during practice, after practice. What do they think during a match? What gets them worried? Why do they get nervous? What are they thinking about? And obviously that's where the sports psychologist side comes in. But we can help with that a lot too. We're not clinical sports psychologists, but JP and I have both competed at a high level and been through that, and are able to reflect and look back on that. So we work on that a lot. Like you said, as Molly said, it is very mental. Everyone can shoot a 10. Almost everyone can shoot 10 10s. Everyone is a good shooter, but who can stand up in the competition when people are watching, when there's actually an outcome on the line? I think that becomes the more challenging part, and I think what sets them apart is their mindset and how they approach it mentally.
Mm-hmm. Is it kind of hard to help keep that in check and keep the results-based thinking in check, especially when coming off of a season undefeated, second place in the national championship? Is that kind of difficult to reset that and kind of not focus on the results as much in the moment?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I think we look at that as it's a new year. It's a new season. It's a fresh start. It's a new team. We had a lot graduate. I mean, I think we've often had team members that do feel a certain level of expectation because we're on the West Virginia rifle team, and the expectation often is from the outside that we're going to be competing or winning a national championship every year. Obviously, you can't win every year, and I think after our amazing stretch of 5 in a row, I don't know if I thought it would be a little bit easier, or just you realize that it's tough. Other teams get better. We can have the most amazing season as we just did, but then the championship comes down to 2 days, and we were able to beat 6 other teams, but not one. So there is the challenge of that. I think it's a continual dialogue and discussion, and making sure that each team, they have their own goals. And I think ultimately, we preach a lot, and we talk about just being in the present. And, the thing that we can control is, today's training, or really just the shot that you're shooting. So we focus on keeping them present, having their own goals and expectations and not outside expectations. It's easy to get caught up in what their parents expect them to do, what their friends expect them to do, what anyone else expects them to do. And so that's a pretty common theme every year, of just us trying to stay focused on ourselves and just trying to be better than we were the day before. And so that doesn't really matter if you've had the worst season before, or if you've had the best season, if you're ranked first or you're ranked last. That stuff stays pretty consistent. And so we work pretty hard to try and do that every year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Griffin Lake just came off a really strong freshman season and played a big part in that team's, NCAA championship runner-up finish. What can you say about him and what he brings to the table? Yeah,
Griffin had a great freshman year. And, we were really excited about him coming in, and he really thrived. He works really hard in practice. He loves to shoot. And I think this year we've already seen, I think he's just grown a lot as a person and as an athlete. Last year, there's definitely a higher level of just maturity and coming into this year. So I think we're really excited to see what he can do. I think he's, kind of taking over, he's ready to step into more of a leadership role. And I think there's always that adjustment when you get to college. So certainly the first semester. And so there's a lot that you learn freshman year. I'm sure Griffin could talk about it more, but he seems more, set with his schedule, set with classes. So everything, basically the outside of rifle becomes a little bit calmer, and then it allows you to thrive even more in the range. And sometimes, everything's new and exciting freshman year. So sophomore, junior year, senior year, sometimes you have to work a bit harder. But I think we're excited to see what he can do this year. Like I said, he's grown a lot, and I think just he can shoot exceptionally well. And I think the thing for him to work on this year will be the consistency of being even more consistent than he was last year. But he's a great team member, works incredibly hard, and we're excited to see what he can do this year.
Right. So keeping it on the individual teammate kind of aspect, I want to ask about Natalie Perrin, a fellow Media College student over here. So what does she bring to the table as a 4-year member of the team?
Well, Natalie has by far the most experience on our team. She's actually the only one this year that's been here more than a year. So we have another senior in Gavin, but he was a transfer. All the others from last year just started last year, and then we have 3 freshmen. So Natalie's really our person that kind of is our experienced member. Again, will be a great, taking on a leadership role this year. And I think, we're excited to, see what she can do this year as well. I think she's had a long journey. I think, had a lot of success the first year, competed on our team for NCAAs the first year, and then she didn't make our NCAA team her second and third year. However, she got better. And I think that was something that Natalie, that was a challenge, I think, for a little bit of, hey, I'm shooting better, but I'm not necessarily on that team of 5, and that was really just a product of our team just got better. Just new team members coming in through recruiting and transfers and things like that. But Natalie's great. She's got a really good mindset this year. I think sometimes senior year is hard of how sometimes we have seniors that kind of feel like they're kind of moving on with life and maybe check out a little bit, and then others that put too much into it of like, I have to do this because it's my senior year. So far Natalie's had an awesome mindset, is very focused this year, but also very wanting to taking I think the best mindset of like, this is my last year, I'm gonna take every opportunity that I can and leave no regrets, as it were. So yeah, she's doing a great job in training, and I think she's, I think great for the younger ones, that she understands what it means to be on West Virginia rifle team, and whether that's helping with recruiting visits, whether that's helping the younger ones settle in, whether that's kind of giving them guidance away from the range, whether in the weight room or nutrition or anything else. She sets a really good example there. So she's going to be a big part for this year, and kind of playing that, definitely one of our team leaders. We're going to have lots of them that can be a leader in different aspects, but her experience will be really important for us this year.
Gavin Barnick was the NCAA air rifle individual national champion. Can you just talk a little bit about him and what you've seen from him and what you're expecting him to do this season? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, Gavin had a lot of growth last year. I think his first semester was a little bit of a struggle, kind of settling into a new place and a few challenges for him, but he really kind of came through in the spring and had a much better semester. And to finish winning an individual NCAA championship was a really great result for him. I mean, he's a very good rifle shooter. He had 2 good years at Alaska in terms of performances, and I think hopefully we're able to provide a good environment for him. I think he's definitely in a better place, mentally and happier, and ready for his last year of college as well. I think he finished the year really, really well last year, and I think that's a great springboard for him this year. And so he's ready to, take full advantage of that and work hard and kind of see where this year goes as well. So he's definitely one of our stronger shooters for sure. And he brings a different style of leadership, but has seen success at a different school. Winning a championship as a team, and then obviously has seen success last year winning as an individual. And so yeah, we're looking forward to what Gavin can do this year as well.
Right. So kind of to wrap it up a little bit, a lot of good things sounds like happening over here at the WVU Rifle Range, and can you tell Mountaineer Nation a little bit about what they should be excited about for this upcoming year?
Well, I think first and foremost, just another really solid year with the team. I mean, I think we always want to win national championships. We have a great history and tradition of that. I think this year we're going to have a chance. We're going to be one of the top teams in the country. Until we start shooting, we don't really know how the averages are going to fall or how other teams are going to be. There's the usual suspects are going to be strong. Alaska is going to be good this year. Kentucky and TCU are going to have strong teams. And so we're going to try and focus on ourselves, but I'm confident that we have a really good group, just a great group of people, firstly, but also a very talented group. And I think if we work hard and, do the right things in practice, and just try and get better every day, I think we'll be in the position at the end of the season to have a good result. And obviously that comes down to the day, but hopefully everyone will enjoy following the team and enjoy following the results throughout the year. If they want to make it over to the Shell building in the indoor track for any of our matches, it's open to everyone. It's kind of cool to see in person. It's just a little bit different. Everyone or a lot of people know about the rifle team but don't necessarily know what happens in the matches or how they're shooting or what they're shooting. So it's a great opportunity for people to come watch. And we're excited for another successful year, and we'll see where it ends up.
Absolutely, yeah. Those who want to come see the rifle team, the home opener will be against Memphis on October 19th. That's a Saturday. But, Coach, want to wish you the best of luck on the year moving forward, and we wanted to thank you again for spending your time here with us for a little bit.
Not a problem. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you very much. This has been the Mountaineer Sports Insider Podcast. For Brian McQuillan, this is Luke Blaine. We'll see you next time.